midnight haze, chasing shadows in the darkest maze. Footsteps echo in the empty hall, mysteries waiting on our call. Bigfoot stomping through the pines, aliens sending secret signs. EVPs in the dead of night, ghosts dancing in the pale moonlight. Paranormal 411, we bring it to you. Truth behind the veil, gotta pursue you.
All right. Welcome, everybody.
Uh-oh. Error occurred.
Yeah.
That's all
right. Got a great show tonight, don't we?
Yes. Can't wait. We had Scott on, what was it, about 2 years ago or so?
Yeah.
Maybe.
A couple of years ago.
And had a great time. And he's got a lot of knowledge. And what was fun was getting to let you say, well, do you believe in this and this and this? Remember that?
Yeah.
And then you finally got to the orbs, and he's like, oh, that's one I can't say nothing about. He's like, all the Native American tales and everything talk about the orbs. So, but we had a great discussion last time. So, you ready?
Yeah. Like David said, we got Scot Violette and Hannah. They're from Squatch America.
Yes.
Scott is a Desert Storm Army veteran and a Native American cultural anthropologist. And Hannah, she's a human behavioral researcher, excuse me. And they combine anthropology, sociology, and communication to research Bigfoot. Scott's background in cultural anthropology, stemming from his work with Native American tribes, is integrated with Hannah's expertise in human behavior. So they can conduct research, including personal sightings, and engage the public through town hall meetings and online platforms to collect data and build a community of Squatch Americans.
That's awesome.
It is.
We need to get them on our website.
Yeah. Their approach emphasizes science-based research and community collaboration to explore the Bigfoot mystery while respecting the cultural heritage. And they've got a new book out. We're going to talk a little bit about it tonight.
Yes.
It's called Squatch America, Exploring the Mysteries of Bigfoot with Science and Culture. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on.
There's something in there.
Hi, guys.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Great.
Nice to see you again. Uh-oh, you took them off stage. You added them and then took them off, Jason.
Yeah, I got too many buttons.
Yeah. Oh,
Jason's
I know the buttons.
Buttons to push. So, it's nice getting to talk to you again. And I know since last time we was going to have you on, I guess about a year or two ago, and you was actually had talked about that you had found some. I guess some pictographs somewhere that hadn't even been recorded or anything yet. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Now is a lot of stuff like this in your book?
Yeah. About everything that we have found ourselves actually is in the book. Yeah.
That's amazing. So how do you go along adding sociology to this, like trying to figure out what it is that this animal or this creature does as far as socially?
Okay, well, as a sociologist, of course, or a human behavior researcher, which is really a fancy way of saying I watch the people at Walmart and point and laugh.
I love doing that.
There's a few crazy people there.
Yeah.
but no, I mean, sociology, anthropology, of course, studies human history through bones and other things. They study dead people to put together human history. Sociology looks at actual people groups, from the family to the community to, and you look how different groupings behave and how that forms culture. And so what I bring into my sociological background is we look at you know, what is the behavior up, for instance, the family group that Scott and his partner have been studying for 4 years now. You know, we can look, what are there you know, what did we witness, or what kind of evidence did we see at the pond? Well, we saw, let's say, for instance, we saw these two sets of footprints in these different configurations. What did that suggest? Oh my gosh, that suggested that one Bigfoot, like an older sibling, was helping another little one learn to walk. You know, so that's kind of where that comes in. You know, we follow their patterns, and just like we would look at, let's say, a tribe of people in downtown Los Angeles. What what is their behavior indicating about their values and their or their lack of values, or whatever.
Right.
Sorry, but anyway, and you know, it's just it kind, and because we are convinced that Bigfoot is a humanoid type species, human behavior absolutely can transfer over. It's not always a perfect transfer. It's not always a perfect parallel, but you know, we can examine them through very similar lenses. We can look at behavior. We can look at communication. I hope I sounded intelligent with all that.
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes I gotta wonder about myself.
So, you got a lot of evidence recently, or in the last couple of years?
Yeah, we actually have. You know, we talked about earlier, we had just found another pictograph in Eastern Oregon, which was very basic, but it told a story as 3 symbols. And one of them was the symbol for Bigfoot. And the interesting thing, I have got now 3 different pictographs that I have seen eyeball myself of the same figure, you know, set up the same way, you know, long body, short legs, long arms out and down, and no neck. So in the Native American cultural language of pictographs, there's 3 different languages that are used in pictographs, and the ones that come from, say, southern Utah north into Washington State and into Canada is one particular language, because they used it for trade, or you know, and when they would, most pictographs are basically directions, like, hey, there's hunting this way, there's water that way, you know.
Right.
That's what most of them are. They tell a story. Hey, we had a great catch here fishing, or we battled something here. And this one here in Eastern Oregon that we found was particular because it had 3 symbols on it. It had the Bigfoot symbol. It had a directional sign on it that said, if you're going north, it was pointing up towards this valley. It said, go to the edge of the valley, go around the valley, don't go through the valley. And then it had a danger sign. So it had Bigfoot, go around the valley, danger.
Wow.
That's wild.
Now, are there still indigenous living in that area?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Now, do they actually have like a story still of like, hey, yeah, it's dangerous to go through that valley?
Not particularly. Well, I haven't heard any recent ones,
Right.
but historically they do. The tribe does have a lot of Bigfoot stories. This area here is home to the original home. It's not where they're at now, but the Nez Perce tribe. If you ever heard the story of Chief Joseph, I will fight no more forever, that was this tribe. This was their original homeland, where they were from. Now they were put on a reservation in Lewiston, Idaho now, so that's actually where the reservation is, but it's close to this area. But they have a lot of stories about Bigfoot. In fact, there's a place called Seven Devils, where there's these 7 mountains, and each of those mountains are petrified Bigfoot that got tricked into being petrified there by a coyote. So You know, they have this long history of Bigfoot in this area, and finding that pictograph kind of, you know, puts that on a level playing field exactly.
Yep.
And they have this is near Hell's Canyon, which is another really interesting place.
Yep. You keep talking. We just made you big. We just put ourselves back so you can talk.
You're fine.
So, Jason, you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question for Hannah.
She goes, "Oh,
Do you think these things act more human than ape? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I everything that I have, and Scott and I don't always see eye to eye on our, you know, how we interpret the evidence can be very different, but I think they are much more human than ape. The primate, like the primate apes, gorillas, monkeys, chimpanzees, blah blah blah. I think they are a completely distinctive species than Bigfoot and humans. I think Bigfoot and humans are a lot more closely related than our primate 14th cousins over there in the zoo.
yeah,
So
that makes sense, because when they find DNA, they always have human DNA involved somehow.
yeah." I think it's always pretty weird how the female side or the mitochondrial side always has human, but the male side always shows up unknown primate.
oh,
Exactly.
really? Now that's interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Every time that they've done these studies, and they always come up that exact same way, no matter what it is or where the sample comes from. And what's weird about it is that they're like, oh, it's contaminated. Well, how can every one of them be contaminated exactly the same?
Yeah.
So since this is Paranormal 411, then this container is big enough for my personal theory, yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All righty
Yes.
then.
We can go into all the different.
I am myself. I know David is too. We're believers in some crazy stuff.
Yes.
Well, so roundabout, I want to say it was probably around about January, maybe a little earlier. I stuck my toe into the deep waters of paleo contact.
Oh.
Yep.
Love it.
Oh.
I like it.
Anyway, and after watching way too much Billy Carson and Paul Anthony Wallace, they're laughing now. They're going,
Yes.
oh yeah,
I love it.
She drank the Kool-Aid.
Yes. Took the pill. You came out of the Matrix.
Oh yeah. Anyway, no, actually, you know, that just how they interpret ancient scripture, because in addition to sociology, I have an awful lot of spiritual, theological, comparative religious background, and so these two characters, of course, they're going to be speaking my language like crazy. And so anyway, but my personal theory is that at some point in history, whenever that was, off-world extraterrestrials, whatever, Anunnaki, whatever, they come here. They can't manage the planet because they're not made for this planet. However, the indigenous humanoid is, which was Bigfoot. And so a little bit of jiggery pokery, and they succeed in implanting one of their females with, and there we have this Bigfoot Anunnaki hybrid, which is now Homo sapien. And that would absolutely make sense because it was the mother carrying. And so you've got your maternal mitochondrial DNA there.
Yes. Yep.
And Roy says all the behavioral.
I made the science fit.
Yes, it does.
Roy says all the behavioral problems are always from the mother.
Yeah, exactly. No. No,
I'm not
actually,
going to argue.
there is a weird question in the anthropological world. You know, if they're through DNA and through, you know, we've got DNA from teeth from some of, you know, like Neanderthal and some of the older humans, and come to find out, Neanderthal's still alive. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah. Yeah, the Neanderthal race is from the an area of France, the Acadian area of France. So if you take DNA from an Acadian French person, which I am, my dad is full-blooded. I'm half Acadian French. Down south, they call us Cajuns. Okay, so
Yep.
all right. So the people with the Acadian French lineage, and there's a lot in Maine, in northern Maine, and in Louisiana, same families. And you check their DNA, and I had my DNA done, and I'm 4% Neanderthal. So if you wonder why Cajuns are a little off, they're near 4% caveman. So
That's it. Shoot 'em.
yeah.
You know that one guy that does the logging? What's his name?
Up in Maine?
No, in Louisiana. They
Oh.
do that logging show, and he's always got all these little crazy boats and
Yeah.
wears cut off blue jean shorts.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name, but he's funny.
Yeah.
Huh. So the gene still lives on then for Neanderthal then.
Yeah, it is. It's in us. We bred them out. They didn't go extinct. You know, and so there's some.
Y'all just married your cousins.
Yeah, so it's another problem with us Cajuns. All right,
Yeah.
but no.
That's what happens when you know only live around family.
Yeah. But if we go back in history, you know, I was getting to this point where with the DNA we found out, you know, we did not evolve from chimps. I mean, that picture we had as a kid as a monkey turning into the human. That's not how it happened. There always was a human back there sometime somewhere. So we didn't evolve from monkeys. They just evolved separately from us. So with that said, there's one thing that's always been a problem in the evolutionary theory in anthropology is why can't humans, and this is a question I've always had too, is why can't humans live on this planet? If you think about this, we're the only species that dies from hypothermia when it gets cold, because other animals live in the cold and just fine. You know, we get heat strokes, you know, but other animals live. Yeah.
We're tender little things.
Yeah.
We're tender and fragile.
Yes. So
Yes.
it seems like we evolved not to live on this planet, or something changed that made us not able to live on this planet.
I mean, we can't eat anything without cooking it to death.
Yep.
So and actually that it is, for me, that's a little more ammo in my container for we are not fully from this planet. I mean, there's something, you know, that so
distinct that we're distinguished from other animals on this planet. Yeah. Do you so you think that when Bigfoot and stuff, when they hunt and they eat meat, they eat it, you know, without cooking, just like any other animal does. They just take it and eat it.
Absolutely. Yeah. They don't make fire. What the conclusion we've come to, and a lot of Bigfoot researchers have come to, is that they are tool using intelligent, but not tool making intelligent. They'll pick up a rock and bludgeon something to death with it, but they won't carve it into a arrowhead and stab it.
Well,
you know.
Well, if you look at the handprints that we have of them, their thumbs are their thumbs are connected differently, and so they don't have it doesn't appear like they have the fine motor skills that we have. Because their thumb is actually just more like another, you know, it doesn't do this.
Yeah,
you know.
I actually have three Bigfoot hand casts of handprints, and it shows that the thumb in ours kind of V's like this. There's
it's just straight up and down.
Straight up and down, right next to their
Yeah.
So it doesn't
Let me show it.
It doesn't do this. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go
Hold
and
on.
get it, David, we got a cast of a claw or a hand. It's out of Kentucky.
Oh, cool.
So
Tell me it's not a beaver.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
hey, we've got that one.
No, we don't
No,
have
well,
that
we've
one.
got one like that. We have one very much like that. Yeah.
You can see how like you were saying, the thumb is more out
Right.
than in like ours. The
Uh-huh.
pad is out.
Sure that's not Michael's.
He was climbing a hill, and they cast where he climbed the hill.
Okay.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, but even in that, you can see that the joint, the attachment where the joint is completely different than a human's.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's huge.
you really
Yes, they are
only
huge.
see like one joint on each finger.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're massive, just massive hand.
Yeah, they are built for navigating nasty terrain. And that's what that also, from my sociology, psychology, human behavior background, one of my areas of study was the evolution of intelligence in humans, and how we've got multiple types of intelligence. Some people don't have any of them. Some people have more of them. So, but 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 if you look at the behavior patterns that we've been able to put together, their intelligence is suited for their adaptation to the planet. They don't need linguistic intelligence, because they communicate differently. They're communicating about location and protection. They don't need the same kind of language we need. They don't need mathematical intelligence. They need natural intelligence. They need spatial intelligence. They have completely different needs that are met by their evolution. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in the book, tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, it's kind of
it's a memoir.
it's more of a memoir about what got me into hunting Bigfoot or researching Bigfoot. I grew up in the Blue Mountains of Eastern Oregon, where all the Paul Freeman stuff happened, and Westmoreland and all those guys. So I was in the heart of like the Bigfoot, hotspot. So we always heard stories and from everybody around us, like, hey, I saw one of those things the other. And this was like years before Patterson film, even. So, so I in the book we start out about what got me into this, and then we talk about a little bit about where I went from. I was doing research with Native American tribes after I got out of the military and got my GI Bill, went to college, all that. And then and I worked with 75 different tribes in my career, and every single one of them have a Bigfoot legend. And that's what started me thinking back, when I was a kid growing up with all these legends and stuff. And that got me thinking that these things have been around a lot longer than we can imagine. So, and then when I saw my first Bigfoot pictograph was in California, and it's not the famous one that everybody talks about. It's a different one. I was working with the Miwok tribe in Central California, and I saw this pictograph, and I wasn't sure what it was, the symbol. And I asked the elder of the tribe who was with me, what is this pictograph? And he said in his language, Yayali, which means hairy man, in their language. And I was like, hairy man, so you mean like Bigfoot? And he looked at me and he goes, yes. And I go, they exist? And he looked at me like I was stupid and didn't talk to me for 2 days. So that's when I started, looking into more of the stories from the different tribes. And that's what kind of, after I retired from doing that business, we got into just flat out looking for this thing, because it was, to me, I was like 99% sure they existed.
So the first part of the book is kind of his personal story. And then the second part of the book is looking at the mythologies, fact versus fiction, the role that hoaxing plays in research, because people, researchers get really, really peeved at hoaxers. We get peeved at hoaxers, but what we try to go into the book is that even hoaxing has a place, and he shares some really good hoaxes that people have tried to pull on him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and we talk about different tools we use in our research. So and then we spend quite a bit of time showing off the different things that we have come across, including, and I want to give her a shout out. I doubt if she's listening, but we have a researcher in Vermont, and she found the second documented cripplefoot in modern Bigfoot research history.
Really?
And yeah, and so then we have a full rundown of that find, and what Dr. Meldrum had to say about it. And there are quite a few pictures in the book. So anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sounds like a good book.
Yeah.
It is a good book. It's available on Amazon. Paperback is $11.99 and Kindle is $8.99. There you go.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's I tell you what, his Mexican mocha down at the local coffee shop is about the same as that Kindle book.
Yeah.
So if anybody listening wants the book, the link's in the description in the video, so you can just
Great.
click on it and
Yes, please. Please.
Get
We
it.
got to get to Wisconsin next month. Buy the book. Everybody buy the book.
Buy the book.
So does it get into I don't know how you feel about, but I always, when we have Bigfoot guest on, I always have to ask about the woo.
Okay.
You've asked him before.
I know, but I know.
We don't get too much into the woo on this one.
Oh, well, not in the book.
Not in the book.
But have I had experiences?
I think since you talked to them.
Since I talked to them, I have had some experiences.
Oh,
since I
have
talked to
you?
last? Yeah.
This
So
part
we
gets
have.
interesting to me.
Yeah, we have a research area that it's in near Crater Lake, Oregon, which is a pretty hot spot for the paranormal and for Bigfoot and stuff in the Cascades. And we have had a family of 4 Bigfoot, and we found their footprints, all 4 of them in different places, some together, some apart. And we've had them messing with us in camp at night a couple of times. So we've had these experiences, but dang it, every time we've went there, we've saw UFOs every single freaking time. Yeah. So that's what. So one of the things that so I have seen some weird stuff in the sky there. And then one time we had we were up in Leavenworth, Washington, and we had she had already went to bed, and I was standing next to our truck, and I looked up in the forest, and I see this light bouncing through the trees. And so I grabbed my phone and I recorded it, and I held my phone to my chest so I knew where I was standing. I scraped my feet on the ground so I knew where I was standing and where I was facing. So in the morning I could check it out. And I knew there was nothing back there in those woods because we'd been back there all day long. And I knew where it came out at. It went down a little valley and up a little hill, and then it hit a cliff that dropped off, and then it was like 20 miles to the other side of the valley or overlooking. So there's no way anything could get, or anybody could get back there with a flashlight. And then this light started, going off, coming on. It would dart, 100, it would like go off and then flash back on 100 yards to my left. and go off, and it was just a weird, the typical orb stuff, you hear about. So, and that was another experience I had, and which kind of put me back when I was working with the Miwok tribe in California. One of their legends says everywhere Bigfoot goes, a light follows. Now, we didn't find any Bigfoot evidence while we were there, but we did have that light evidence at one time. So it makes me think a little bit. So this is where I'm got. And some of the woo stuff, when people say they see Bigfoot vanishing or floating or they just disappear, my thought is there are Bigfoot. There are humans. They're biological beings. They're mammals like us. But then we also have the paranormal stuff where there's like the ghost things. So why can't there be Bigfoot ghosts? So what people are seeing, the paranormal Bigfoot, is actually ghosts.
The spirit side.
The spirit side of Bigfoot.
Okay. That's
a theory I'm working with. Anyway.
Well, we do a lot of ghost investigations ourselves and stuff, and we've come up with all kinds of stuff as far as that goes. Seeing apparitions. Jason's filmed an apparition, didn't you, Jason?
Yeah.
Disembodied voices, things you only catch on recording that you don't catch anywhere else. And I was thinking, because we was going to do some squatching this year, maybe in some areas that are around us that are supposed to be pretty hot zones. And I was actually thinking about us taking some of our paranormal equipment with us when we did it.
Do it.
Do it.
So
we did get a very interesting recording near Crater Lake, remember?
No.
So
which one are you talking about?
The train.
Oh yeah, that was kind of weird.
I think trains are automatically, I think trains are particularly hauntable.
I don't know why.
I do.
Yeah. So a lot of the paranormal ghost hunting equipment and Bigfoot equipment are pretty much the same thing sometimes, because we have really sensitive audio recorders that we put out, and we've got thermal cameras and full spectrum cameras and the whole thing that I use. In fact, I even stole something from the Bigfoot or from the ghost hunting, those laser grids that you can put up and you can see stuff move. I use that at night in the forest looking for Bigfoot. I put up laser grids to catch the motion. So one time, what she's talking about is one time we leave recorders up all night, and I was listening to the audio back, and I heard something crunching in the woods. I heard an owl hooting, and then I heard a friggin' train. You could hear the tracks, clack, 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 clack of the train going down the tracks, and I could hear the whistle blowing.
It didn't sound like a modern train either.
No, it didn't. And it
sounded more like a steam engine.
We were a little over
30 miles.
It was over 30 miles from the nearest railroad track, and that was over 2 freaking mountains away.
Wow.
And there's no way my recorder was picking a train up 30 miles away. So I don't know where that came from.
That's it. That's interesting. I wonder if there might have used to be a train for logging or something that.
Well, yeah, I imagine they did there years ago. I'm sure there were, and there's also a lot of gold mines in that area too. So
ghost train. That's interesting. We built our own SLS camera, and it's because if you buy them they're $500, but if you build them they're $2. So. So we built our own, and I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a ghost hunting device, but it uses the sensor part of an Xbox 360. And really what it is almost like a LiDAR. So it sends out thousands of lasers and it maps everything in the surrounding. So then when you're playing the video game, you're the controller, right? Well, you take it and you run the software in the background to where you could actually see what's going on in real time. And what happens is if spirits walk by, it's meant to lock onto a human body if it sees one. And so if nothing's there, then all of a sudden a stick figure pops up. You're like, hey, that's possibly a ghost.
Mm.
And
That's kind of smart.
That's cool.
and so I was thinking about taking something like that out in the woods with us because of the LiDAR feature of it and the mapping technology that it has, to where maybe you could get, see something that was trying to hide itself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually have some like infrared security cameras that I put out, not trail cameras.
Mhm.
But these ones here, they're designed to pick up anything with 2 arms and 2 legs, and they move, so they will track anything, but they only track things that are walking upright like humans. So they, knows the shape of a human. So if they do catch a Bigfoot walking through the woods, it'll track them, and keep the camera on it as far as it can. That's one of the things we use. And another thing we just recently got, which was quite spending, but they sponsored us, so they give us the camera. I'm like, yay. So we actually have a thermal trail camera that uses the thermal FLIR camera technology, but it has it triggers by heat walking in front of it instead of the infrared that most trail cameras put out. And we think that Bigfoot can see that infrared, and that's why they avoid trail cameras. So this one doesn't put out that infrared at all. It just, anything that's warm that walks in front of it, as temperature changes in front of it, it starts taking pictures and video. So we're starting to play with that.
Now that's interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I could see how that would work, because I do think that there's a good possibility that they can see, because a lot of people have had trail cams where you see, and they put them up really high, but something messes with it and knocks it over to where it can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
And you see stuff like that all the time that happens. So I really do think that they can. They either have an incredible sense of smell, and they could smell that a human was there, that a person was there, or they could see that, and so
Or both.
or both. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that actually speaks to their overall intelligence. I mean, they might be differently intelligent than we are, but that doesn't exempt them from being able to interact with us.
Yes.
In fact, we've seen that in your cognitive testing. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing he's gotten into that he's not telling you about, is that in his primary research area, they started doing cognitive testing. So
yeah. So what we've been doing is there's a few cognitive tests that people like her, sociologists, do with children.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know. That there's a toy you had when you were a kid. It was like a
spindle,
wooden base, and it had a spindle sticking up, and it had different sized donuts, and you stacked them on top of each other.
Yes.
Yeah. That's actually a cognitive test.
Oh, really?
It's called the Hanoi Tower, and it shows if you have pre-planning ability, where executive functions, where you can figure out, I need to put the biggest one on the bottom and then the next one.
So step by step, can you
thinking ahead?
Sequential thinking. And
so we've actually been putting those out in the woods. We'll put 2 of them together, one taken apart and one put together, and we have had one put together. And we've had one where they took the rings and just hid them around the forest. We had it on a stump, and we had it hid some of the rings under the stump, some of them down in the stump.
Kind of smart asses, actually.
They're like, yeah, watch this.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a test.
He's got some good ones here.
Originally, we started doing it with rocks. So just flat rocks we got from the ocean, because so we're up in the Cascades, so it's different. You know, the rocks are salty. You know, they're different. And we had these flat rocks, and we'd stack them up, you know, in a pyramid, and then they would get rearranged. And then they would take 3 of them. I don't know why only 3. They'd take 3 and rearrange them on the stump, and then we'd put them back, and then they would rearrange them back the way they were the next night. And then we had one where they took one of the rocks and stabbed it into the stump like a hatchet, just jammed it into the stump. And then it was in about probably an inch. And then the next day they had pounded it all the way into the stump. And then the next night they had ripped the stump apart, got the rock back out, and stacked it back up.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
And then they left a test for.
Then we left and we came back the next year. And this is where the Planet of the Apes stuff's trying to kind of scaring me, because are we teaching them stuff we don't need to be teaching them? Right. Because the next year we went back to that area, we found rocks stacked on logs left for us. 500 pound rocks stacked on those stumps.
It's like, we'll see your Hanoi Tower and raise you.
Yes.
Boulders.
Yeah. Move this.
Yeah.
So I do think they are highly, highly intelligent, highly intelligent, which actually, you know, as a sociologist, I love indigenous mythologies, just love them. And when you hear the different stories about the various relationships that the Native Americans and the Sasquatch tribes had, obviously communication was not an issue. You know, the languages may have been different, but the meeting of the minds was always very intact. And it's just that. So I do have a particular fondness for any species that can kind of put humanity in its place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just, you know, there's little comeuppance here.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, Hannah, the same thing that I asked Scott last time he was on. Since you're a sociologist, do you think that they are almost like the Native Americans were before, that they kind of moved with the seasons and moved with the animals and moved with everything, that they're not a stationary species at all?
Yep. I think they've everything that we have seen suggests that they follow the food, and that they don't migrate like Canadian geese migrate. You know, they aren't going south for the winter, but they have the patterns that we've noticed are kind of a 3 to 4 year cycle, where they'll go to an area, and then based on the seasons, they're going to move up and down the mountains based on the seasons, following the food line up and down, and and all that. So they're going to be down lower during the colder months and up higher during the warmer, and then they move. We just did an episode not too long about this. It's almost like, responsible agriculturalists practice crop rotation.
Yep.
Right. Megalithic, factory farms don't do that, but smart farmers practice crop rotation so that they're not depleting anything in the natural environment. And that's what we've seen. They'll be in an area long enough to meet their needs for a time, but then they leave just enough and move on so that it can grow back. And so we see like a 3 to 4 year pattern that just kind of goes in a circle, probably 300 to 400 mile radius,
200 mile,
or something like that. I can't remember. He does all the distances. It's an area. but yeah, I think they follow the food, and they do go in a pretty, I would say it's actually a very Native American like pattern.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Native Americans didn't move that many miles. They had a closer knit territory, maybe 100 to 200 miles. But
well, the Nez Perce, like in Eastern Oregon, will go clear to Wyoming every
year.
Day.
That's true.
So
I don't know how far that is.
It's
the Cherokee here. they were everywhere from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and here and all over East Tennessee and stuff. They had a pretty wide berth that they traveled, but now they did have some full-time settlements also. But then they had winter places and summer places and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I mentioned the Nez Perce, because they were a nomadic tribe.
Yeah.
So they had their summer place in the Wallowa Mountains of Eastern Oregon, and then they'd winter in Wyoming, and they would hunt buffalo in Wyoming and bring it clear back to Oregon.
Wow.
So
that's a heck of a distance.
I was just saying, what were they doing in Wyoming in the winter? That's just silly.
Yeah, it is. As an ex-truck driver, I'll tell you, I've been stuck there many a times on I-80.
That is silly.
Yeah, anywhere between Cheyenne and Laramie is always really terrible.
Yeah.
I think that's actually where I actually had to outdrive my first tornado.
Yeah.
Is going through Wyoming. It's like,
Wyoming gets some heavy winds too.
Yes. Yeah.
You see trucks blown over on the freeway all the time.
So we have a question in the chat. Is there enough data to predict when they will be in an area?
Yeah, I can answer that one.
Exactly, you can.
Yeah. We in Eastern Oregon, I spent 6 years getting Bigfoot reports from people in the area, and that whole 6 years I was putting pins and maps and dates and stuff. And now we have what's his name? Oh, Scott something. I know it's Scott. Anyway, invented the Bigfoot Mapping Project app.
Oh yes, I've seen that. That's an awesome app.
That is an awesome app, and so it kind of did all the work for me now. So
but even before that map, you had pretty much figured out when they were going to be in an area based on the reports, and then the reports always coincided with particular seasons. Like during morels are huge in the Pacific Northwest. It's like if you want an income as good as dealing controlled substances, it's not illegal, you're going to go forage morel mushrooms. So but morel season, we'd get reports from this area, and then there would be like elderberry season, we get reports from this area, huckleberry season reports from, so it really tied in. The reports we got really were I would say directly correlated to the different natural food source supply.
Right.
Yeah. And then another thing we would figure out was Scott Tompkins. Yeah, that's it. Another thing I got was too, I would get, like on this mountain range here, we'd get reports, a whole bunch of them, like 1 year, and then nothing. And then we start getting reports on this other mountain range for the next year. And that's how I figured out they're moving from over here. They live here for like a year, and then they'll move over here and live for a year, and then they'll move over here and live for a year. And it was about a 200-mile radius, and I found the four places that they would move.
And so no one place ever got completely stripped of natural resources.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
How
big do you think that these family units are, or do you think that they're in more like a clan type unit, or
I think, from the reports and stuff we get, I'm pretty sure they stay in small family units.
4 to 5.
4 to 5, depending on how many kids they have. And then you'll get these reports of like this more aggressive single Bigfoot, in this area. And what I think those are like young males that get kicked out of their group, and then they have to go start their own group. So they're looking for love, and teenage boys are rambunctious about stuff, and that's where we get these rogue Bigfoot, I think.
Gotcha.
But I think they stay in small groups. I know a few years ago, Dr. Jeff Meldrum he took his college students, and they did a study with Bigfoot reports. And he come to the conclusion that there's 3 Bigfoot in any 20 square miles of the forest in the United States anywhere.
Really?
So in any 20 square miles, there's 3 Bigfoot. Anywhere there's a black bear, anywhere that has black bears in it, well, in that 20 square miles, there'll be 3 Bigfoot. From the amount of reports and stuff we get. So there's a lot more of these than people think. They're just very elusive. And they stay in small groups. Like the group we've been working with, back to that. When we first found them, we found, the first year we found 13-inch footprints, 10-inch footprints, and 6-inch footprints. Now, the 10-inch and the 6-inch were juveniles, of course, and the 13-inch footprint we figured was mom. And what we found was we had, by this little pond way up in the mountains, that you have to hike into. You can't just drive into this little pond up there. And so up by this pond, there was, in the springtime, my buddy hacked his way in there. He drove in with his 4-wheel as far as he could. You know, I had to cut trees out of the roads to get there, you know, so he was the first one in there. And he found a bunch of fir boughs stacked up like a mat on the ground next to the edge of the water of this pond. And that's where we found the 13-inch footprints around that mat. And then down by the water, they found the 6-inch footprints and the 10-inch footprints.
And the 4 inches. You had 4-inch footprints.
No,
too.
they were 6. Anyway, so we, I figured out later they were 6.
Oh.
Anyway, so
You made a mistake?
I made a mistake. Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
I can be wrong once in a while. And she'll correct me every time. Okay.
Someone's got to.
but what's the cool thing is, and this is something I talk about when we do Bigfoot festivals, and I'm a guest speaker at, I show all this, but I kept looking at the way the footprints were next to the pond, and how one of them was kind of walking sideways and one was walking kind of straight, but it was like 2 or 3 steps and then a big step, and then 2, 3 little steps, and then a big step for the little tiny one. And I figured out that the other one walking sideways was probably holding its hand, teaching the younger one how to walk, like parents do.
Okay.
Because it actually
was walking sideways.
The pattern matched photos
of humans
doing the same thing.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it just adorable sounding?
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. Yeah.
my mama went all crazy there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
And then the next year we went up there, we found an 18-inch footprint. So we've got mom, dad, and 2 kids.
Wow.
And that was 4 years ago. So the 6-inch footprint we found last year is 14 inches.
Holy smokes.
He's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Oh.
think the little one was a male.
A male. Yeah. Man. Holy smokes. So then at some point, whatever point that is, he'll be booted out to go
Yep.
find whatever, wherever else, and go claim your own territory, kind of what that is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I think.
They don't seem to have any problem, kicking the little eaglets out of the nest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, get out.
Fly.
Get out. We've done our job. Go away.
That's right. You know where all the good stuff is and all the bad stuff is. No, go figure it out.
Yep.
That
funny.
is parenting at its finest, right
Yes,
there.
it is. Yes, it is. Only had one to do that too. Get out. No.
Mine kept coming back. Oh my gosh.
Our boys came back, I think, 3 times before they finally figured it out. It's like,
Yeah. Yes.
I did the same thing. I don't think David did, but I always had a place to go.
I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I was homeless for a while, so yeah. But that's all right. I had to go find my own way.
Yeah.
I was kicked out at 15 and had to figure it out.
wow.
So, but when it comes to the Bigfoot and stuff like that, so you think that when people get close to them and they act all tough and stuff, and they do a lot of that bluff charging and all that, you think that's just pretty much just get out of my area, you know, they may have kids and stuff like that, just trying to get you out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And in fact, I got a friend of ours, Tom Seawood. He's kind of a famous Native American Bigfooter. And he's from up in Victoria. Was it Victoria Island?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, up in Canada. He's Native Canadian. And or what do they call them? Indigenous people up there.
First peoples there.
The first peoples.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but his tribe, their symbol on their ceremonial gowns is Bigfoot.
Wow.
You know, they have their name from them.
Sunaquah.
Yeah, and
This is the Kwakwakiwak tribe,
yeah,
actually.
yes, yeah, but his tribal legends is tree knocking is a warning when you get too close to their area. They knock on a tree, that means you stop, you turn around, and you go away.
Yeah. Huh.
And
You
if
don't knock back.
If you knock back, you're challenging their territory.
Ah.
So, you know,
Interesting.
yeah. So that's an interesting legend, you know, and so maybe that's why we get, you know, these tree knock back and forth going. Is you're actually challenging them, and then you get the bluff charges and you get all this stuff. So
the rocks thrown.
So if it's not just a juvenile, you know, like a rogue male, it could also be a big male protecting his family in their area, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're getting too close.
you're getting too close. Yeah. And that's where you get rocks thrown at you. We've had rocks thrown at us. She got hit by a stick coming out of the trees once.
Really?
I don't think they were upset with me.
No, they were just like playing with her, I think.
So do you think they're in, I don't know how to say it. Do you think they're like in different tribes? Like you have a good tribe, a peaceful tribe, and then you have, like the ones you hear about in Alaska that rips people apart.
Oh, like in Portlock and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they're just from a different tribe or different area that they do that, or do you even think that's even real?
You know, I don't know if they have like tribal groups, like the bigger tribal groups. I think they more just kind of family groups. But you know, I think they stick together, and they would have to. I don't think they war with each other because that would cause problems. You know, it's just like the rule of the woods is, you know, you don't like bobcats won't take on things bigger than themselves because they don't want to get hurt. You know, so I think it's the same rules. I think they look out for each other. I don't think they war with each other at all. And I think in there has been stories, and some famous stories in the past, where they will get together and team up to fight something, you know, like there's that cabin, the miners' cabin thing in the 1800s.
Ape Canyon.
Ape Canyon.
Yeah.
By the way, our book features a foreword by the author of the Ape Canyon account.
Yeah,
so
he wrote the foreword to our book. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, he Mark Marcel, he was the guy who actually found the cabin. He found the actual cabin.
And he's done a whole anthropological discovery and research around that area. So
yeah, so I think they will team up in larger groups if they have the need to, you know, to protect an area, or if a certain predator's in the area, you know, that they need to chase out. What's really interesting to me is the names. If you take the names for Bigfoot, up in the Pacific Northwest, you know, most of the tribal names are, you know, Spirit Brother, Friend, Hairy Man, Old Man of the Woods. But if you come down south and, you know, the whole southern states,
like where we are now,
like where we're in Texas right now. So, but the names for them are like monster, cannibal, killer. So either the southern Bigfoot are mean, or I think they have less territory. And in the Native American tribes back in the day, they the Bigfoot wanted to keep them out of their territory.
Right.
So that's where they got the bad names, you know. So
Right.
I think they are territorial and they will fight for their territory. But they won't do it unless they absolutely have to. I guess I'll put it that way.
Right. Sukaloo is the name for the Cherokee,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of tales of Sukaloo. Yep.
So it was peaceful too. It wasn't killing anybody.
Well, without his permission, you couldn't hunt in his woods. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
he was almost a keeper of the forest.
Yeah.
And the animals. You know, so,
Mm-hmm.
but he could be very wrathful if needed be. So,
Mm-hmm.
yep. Anything?
Yeah.
Jason? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say there's an interesting story from the Ojibwa tribe up in Michigan, you know, up in, you know, the border of Canada and that area. They said that when the white man showed up, and this is their legend, when the white man showed up, Bigfoot, they used to trade with Bigfoot. And Bigfoot told them, don't trade with the white man because he'll bring disease. And
disaster, it's going to be all bad.
Yeah. So don't trade with them. And if you do, we're going to go into the woods and never be seen again. So the Ojibwa traded with white man, and Bigfoot went into the woods and never been seen again. That's their legend of why Bigfoot hides. You know.
Yep. I've heard that that one before. I didn't remember where it came from, but
that's my favorite Bigfoot myth of all time.
Yes.
That's the one. I mean, if that doesn't sum up human behavior in one story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's and you know that goes back to a lot of the Bigfoot legends in Native American lore. They always look to Bigfoot as a medicine man, mostly. There are stories from even today. There's stories from like the what's the Omaha tribe?
I don't
Nebraska.
know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's the Omaha tribe in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, the name I'm not sure. But anyway, from that tribal area,
it's probably the Omaha.
Omaha.
You said that
No.
3 times.
No.
Anyway, he gets on me for correcting him, but when I can't correct him, he gets on me.
Now I got to look. Oh my gosh, I'm crazy. Anyway,
yes.
But anyway, the story goes even today, the medicine women of the tribe will take whatever's blooming at the time, and they'll pick a bunch of it. No, it's the Omaha tribe.
Yeah, you're right
I was right the first time. It's the Omaha tribe. Anyway, they will take the whatever's blooming at the time, and they'll take it out in the woods and put it on a rock and lay it out. And then they'll leave and they'll come back later. And they say that Bigfoot will take what's good for you now and leave it on the rock, and what's not good for you, it'll take it off the rock and throw it on the ground. So they know what's good for medicine now. And they still do that today.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's
they say that Bigfoot has forgotten more medicine than we will ever remember. I mean, their connection with the earth is so that we can't even. I mean, the amount that they've forgotten is more than we'll ever know.
Yeah,
and they're still the medicine people. I think that's how the phrase goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had someone ask, is there recent activity in Texas?
How
do you define recent?
Recent as in
Like last week? I don't know.
last week? No.
Last-
I think the last one we've heard, the most recent one is like 6 months ago. So I guess that's fairly recent as far as the Bigfoot stuff goes.
Texas is a big place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas is a big place, and there's, it's kind of interesting. We've spent all winter down here, and in fact, we just kind of relocated to here because I'm tired of
We're tired of the cold.
the cold.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
We're from we're from South Dakota, so it gets cold there. In fact,
Grew up in the Pacific Northwest,
Yes.
and
yeah. So anyway, what's really cool is a lot of people don't realize there is more forest in Texas than there is in the whole state of Oregon and Washington and Idaho together. A lot of people don't realize, because Texas is so big, it's huge. Yeah. And so we got the Davy Crockett National Forest, we got the Sam Houston National Forest, and we got the Sabine River Valley, which is where we're at. We're kind of near the Sabine. And what's kind of fun is down here in the South, they don't call them Bigfoot. They're kind of southern named after wherever they're located.
Yes.
So you got the Caddo critter, you got the Sabine thing, you got the Falk monster, you got
We got one here around here called the Coogee Booger.
Yep.
yeah.
oh, I love that name. You need that on a mug.
Yeah.
Coogee Booger Coffee.
Yes.
There we go. There's our coffee line right there.
That what's cool about the story here is that the people who have seen it, and it's not 2-3 miles from here.
Yeah,
where
about 3
we're at
miles.
right now.
Mhm.
And this thing has not only been seen on 2 legs, but it's seen when it really wants to go fast. It drops down on all fours and really
We've
gets
heard
going.
that.
Yeah.
We've heard that. We were about a year ago, we were up on the Washington coast, and we were talking with one of the tribal members there, and he's like the tribal Bigfoot guy, and so everyone would report to him. And that was a very common sighting, was seeing a Bigfoot running on all fours.
Yep.
So and they do move.
Yeah.
They
We
do move.
actually
We've got a video that's
I
been
posted
filmed.
a video on our TikTok. Somebody took it. It's just in a town 15 minutes from here in Madisonville. It's
Yeah.
Monroe County.
Mhm.
But it shows it's out there, and it's showing it like walking. Then I guess it might have seen them or something, and it just went down. You could see it in the video too. It's a little shaky, but it went down on all fours and just took off.
Took off. Yep.
Could you send us a link to that? We would love to see that.
Yeah.
And
We're
that was
not big TikTokers, so
Yeah.
we need a
they
link.
the people who took the video sent it to some people, and they actually had it analyzed, and they said the thing was at least 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Well,
Yeah, in fact, I just had a guy send me a photograph that he was going back through his old photo album, and this picture was taken back in the 70s. And he got to looking at this photo of him and his son, back in the 70s, and there was this face in the tree behind him, in the brush behind him. And he scanned the picture and sent it to me and zoomed in on it. It's got the cone head, it's got the deep set eyes, it's got all the markers you need, but it was on the ground, prone, laying up there looking at him like this.
Oh my god!
It
was right next. What?
That's like a scary movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
You're like, what?
yeah.
Their ability to run on all fours, that would really speak to their skeleton.
How strong they are. Yeah.
Well, and the difference in their skeleton.
Yeah, the way they're built.
Yeah.
Because there's no way a human can run on all fours.
Nope.
I mean,
And I
Not
think that
fast.
with them
No,
having
you
the
can't run on all fast at all. You can't run on all fours at all.
right, them having short legs and long arms, I think that definitely helps.
I
You
got a
know,
story to tell.
do you?
It's something. My son just got an Oculus, right?
Oh yeah,
So he's got this game. It's called 8 something, and you have to. It's three. It's crazy. You have to move your arms like this to move around. That because they're doing like an 8 would do.
mm-hmm.
That just got me thinking about that.
Oh
That's cool. Yeah. And another thing too, it's kind of interesting. I just a couple months ago been chatting with a guy that we're going to go check out the area. It's in Vermont, and where he saw one that was on the ground, all fours, laying down, looking at him, and he took a step towards it, and he said, in one thrust, it pushed itself from the ground to its feet, standing up.
ooh,
Mm.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a short-legged creature.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that this ability that they have to be able to do that also helps with say when people are out looking for this thing, they're busy looking for feet prints and things like that.
Mhm.
I don't think very many people look up in the trees, to be honest. But do you think that with these abilities like that to be able to have the power to do something like that it could actually stay up in the trees too? Or do you think that's something that maybe the little ones do more than the bigger ones do?
I think the little ones do more than the bigger ones. That's just my thought.
Right.
I think the bigger ones don't need to. A lot of people don't realize is actually how fast these things are.
I've seen one. They're amazingly fast.
Yeah. Because when you're 8 foot tall and you have a 40-inch stride, it doesn't take you many steps to go a long ways.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're really strong, and you can do that very quickly.
Yeah, I saw one when I was truck driving still. My wife was we team drove. So my wife drove day shift, I drove nights. And we was actually on I-90 going was in Washington going to go drop off a load and I used to have it written down, the mile marker and everything, but it was about 10 o'clock at night. We was going westbound on I-90 and it was foggy, but it was foggy enough to where you could see about 4 car lengths in front of you. And then it kind of hit a little bit of a bank, where you could maybe see tail lights of a car, but you couldn't make out a vehicle. And right about that far away from me, something came out of the median and took 3 steps, went all the way across, both lanes of the interstate, 3 steps, and was going up the bank on the other side. Me doing the speed limit didn't even reach it by the time it had done that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an amazing experience. I would have to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of reports, especially on I-90 in what is it, Snoqualmie Pass?
In
Oh
Washington.
yes,
In Washington. Yeah.
Nasty stretch of highway there.
Yes, it is. I've driven that a million times up through there, going up and down through there. Yes, yes, because we'd come back down on the other side when you was going west on the other side. There's a TA truck stop that's right there, and that's where we'd stop and fuel on the way in and back on the way out again. Yeah, sure would. But yeah, those roads up through there, the right lane is rutted like crazy up through there.
Yeah.
You almost can't even in a big truck. It's hard to keep in your lane when you're in that right lane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tell you, that was the one thing though that really amazed me is how big this thing was, because it was so big that I know I could have parked right next to it, rolled down my window, and had a face-to-face conversation with it. It was that big. And how fast it went from point A to point B to where I couldn't see it again. It was just, it was fast. Yeah. and a lot of people have problems with understanding something that big can move that quickly.
Yeah.
Well, when you're adapted to the terrain as well as they are, they're not tripping over crap,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah,
So
it goes back to their whole skeletal structure and how they walk. You
Right.
know, a lot of people watch the old famous, Patterson Gimlin film.
Yes.
But if you just watch, you're looking at this thing walking across that riverbank, and then it turns and looks at you. Nobody ever takes the time to go back and watch the feet when it's walking. If you watch its feet, you see the bottom of the foot straight up and down like this every time it take a step.
Mhm.
You don't see a human's the whole entire bottom of their foot vertical every time they take a step. That's
Nope.
because they when they hit the ground, their foot hits the ground flat, then it bends in the middle, and then off the toes, and then up. And if you watch it when it's walking, I did this. I took the Patterson film, and I got a stabilized version of it, so it's not jumping around. And I drew a line across the screen from where it started walking, where it ended walking, and I put it on the dot on their shoulder. And the whole time it moves across that whole thing, the shoulder never goes up or down below that line. It doesn't bounce when they walk. So
Wow.
when people say that they, I thought it was gliding, it's just the way they walk. They never lock their knees, they never vault over their hips. So their legs are almost like a wheel the way they walk. So that gives them a longer step, a longer, between strides, a longer stride, and then they step over anything that's in front of them because their knees are way up in the air when they step because they're used to walking on terrain that's not flat. The way we walk, I mean, we'll trip over a quarter inch on a sidewalk.
we'll trip over nothing at all. Let's be honest.
She'll trip over nothing at all for sure. but but
walking is not my first gift in life. I'm not. Anyway,
yeah.
He calls me a fainting goat. Just down.
So how good are you in the woods now?
Actually, before we hit the road full time, I wasn't out there very often. And the last 5 years I have gotten a lot better. But it's been a real journey for me the last 5 years, kind of because I've grown in a different direction than I ever thought I would, and nature has just wound up teaching me a whole hell of a lot.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, really amazing. But but generally speaking, I'm much better on my feet now. Actually, I got into wearing like zero drop hiking sandals all the time. So I'm walking more like a human's supposed to walk now. But
Right.
anyway, I'm more inclined to trip on stairs than I am in anything out there.
It just doesn't seem natural no more, huh?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, that's enough of that. And let's not even talk about blacktop. That is just like from Satan.
That's funny. Roger in the chat room there, he actually lives in Texas. I think he lives in Dallas Fort Worth area.
Not too far from we're in Emory.
Yeah, we're in Emory, Texas. We're east of Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're kind of between Dallas and Louisiana.
I've been down that stretch a few times on I-20 and I-10. So, yeah.
What are we right off of I-30?
No, I don't know.
I think we're off of I-30.
I'm not familiar with the road numbers. I just know I go that way. So
30 comes down out of Arkansas. You take 30 back down out of Arkansas.
Yeah.
It comes
Texarkana. Yeah.
Yep. That's 30.
Yeah, that's where we're at. We're off
Okay.
that.
Ask a truck driver. He knows.
Yeah. Texarkana is just right up the road,
Okay.
And
Roger asked if y'all will be at Jefferson.
oh, for the Bigfoot Festival in Jefferson, I don't know. That's up in the air right now because we got invited to speak at a festival, but it's not nailed down yet in Oregon at the same time. So if not, we'll be there.
Our plans are a little murky right now.
We are going to be at the Falk Monster Festival
next weekend.
next weekend. So
Oh,
We are going to
It's
be
out.
there for fun.
yeah, we're not speaking. We're just there.
We're just
We're
gonna
just
have
go hang
fun.
are you gonna walk around and try to be incognito?
out. Yeah.
Yes.
So not this weekend, but next weekend, you should just drive up here to Townsend.
Yeah, be with us. We're going to be at Townsend, at the Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, and we actually do a live podcast during
Yeah,
that.
next weekend is the Falk Monster Festival.
Ah.
So that's that.
Same
We
time.
decided
Oh,
let's go to a festival for fun.
it's on May the 3rd.
I don't think we've ever actually done that
Oh, May
before.
the 3rd.
May the 3rd.
We're going to be on our way to
We're on
Wisconsin.
our way to Wisconsin to do the
Barnaby Jones,
Jones's
cryptids, anomalies,
Anomalies,
and
Paranormal.
paranormal.
Oh, you'd be right going to Wisconsin. You'd be coming back this way.
yeah. There you
You
go.
would. You would.
We're not. Well, we won't be back until
June.
But because we're going up there, we're going to the festival, and then something else we do. I'm going to do a little plug here, but I belong to a group called the Fallen Outdoors, and what they are is a veterans group, and they take veterans out hunting and fishing and camping, and we're the one and only Bigfooter group.
We're the Bigfoot division.
The Bigfoot division of Fallen Outdoors. So we take vets out Bigfoot hunting, and we're going to be doing a Bigfoot outing in Wisconsin with 13 vets. We got signed up.
That's awesome. We have some. Yep, there you go. He threw it up on the screen there.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing because Patty is not looking down at the ground when she's walking. I have not graduated that far yet.
No.
I am still scanning. Like,
Roger says he's going to be at Fook, but he's going to be working. I wonder what he's going to be doing working at Fook for.
No, it says he would like to go.
But he's going to be working. See, that's what happens when you have to wear glasses, but you're looking at it.
I feel you, man. Yeah. And the older we get, the more worthless they are.
Yes. I'm like, I can't see you. No, just
Yeah.
Yeah, with the amount of money I pay for my glasses, I should have Steve Austin or bionic eyeballs. Nope.
That's funny. You'll be able to see Sasquatch 20 miles away in the woods.
One would think.
That's funny. So being down in Texas, what brought y'all there besides just the weather? Was it the reports that were there?
Yeah, we get a lot of reports here, and we've had some interesting stuff, down here. What really got us was a few years ago. It was like 3 years ago was our first time down here. 4 years ago. What got us is we came down. We were parked at a campground down here, and people kept coming up and leaving notes on our camper. Hey, I saw a Bigfoot. Blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of some of them actually came up to us and talked to us personally, but a lot of them would just leave little notes at our camp at our campsite, and then another thing happened was every time we'd go to the grocery store down here, or go to the gas station. We got our logo and stuff all over our truck, and I do that so people will come up and talk to me about Bigfoot stuff. So I can, that's part of our research is quantitative analysis of, stories. Yeah. But we would come out of the grocery store and walk back there. There'd be 3 people standing next to our truck waiting for us to come back out so they could tell us Bigfoot stories in this area. So,
Wow.
That was one thing. So we started getting a lot of that, and plus we were, of course, tired of the weather. But there's a better chance of us, spending more time in the woods down here year round than there is up in the Pacific Northwest. Because our research area that we do every year now, we'll all be going back there every year to our hotspot. Right. But there's 6 to 8 feet of snow there every year in the wintertime, and you can't get in there until like mid-June or early July. Most of the times you can't even get into the woods there. So
it dropped.
And we like the culture down here. We like the people, and it felt like home the first time we were here.
Yeah.
It's like, so, and that's
plus me being Cajun helps.
Oh my gosh.
Us Southerners are pretty nice people usually. So
it's true. Hey, I come from Jewish stock, and what do we have here in Emory? We have a Jewish guy working at the mail place. It's like, all right, we're good. I know. He has a little yarmulke on his head and everything.
Oh, like, wow.
Maybe I'll find me a nice synagogue. I don't
know. Only if they have Bigfoot in front of it.
Yeah, and another thing in Emory, Texas, here the feed store has a big Bigfoot statue in the front of the store.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really a sweet little community here.
Yeah, and plus we're right next to we're 100 miles from Falk, and then we're 100 miles south of the Sam Houston Forest. We're in the David Crockett Forest is southwest, so we're kind of a central area here where we're at. Jefferson's only 100 miles away too, so it's kind of a good spot.
We're about dead center of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I never would have thought Texas had all the forests.
Yeah, East Texas does. Yes.
Yeah, East Texas.
When you go East Texas, almost from top to bottom, pretty much, it's very very heavily forested and has a lot of swamplands too.
Oh yeah,
it does.
A lot of swamplands down through there.
Like I said, Falk isn't that far away from us.
Right.
The famous Falk monster.
Now, going to the Falk monster, do you think that with what you're talking about correlating with that 200-mile radius and 5 years of going from here and all the way back, do you think that coincides with a lot of the sightings in Falk and stuff, like how often people really see it and kind of have an area down that of where he kind of can travel?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you watch the the Legend of Boggy Creek movie,
mm-hmm.
one of the first thing they talk about in the movie is like, all these sightings they had, and then they say it kind of disappeared for like 4 years, but he's back.
Mm-hmm.
So even going that far back, when they even made that movie, it talked about them moving around. And it's the same thing. The up here in Caddo Lake, the Caddo critter. That was another thing where people had sightings for this 1 year, and then nothing, and then 5 years later, there's a whole bunch of sightings again. So yeah, absolutely, I think it's the same thing.
Huh? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard. This is newer information for me because I always had a feeling that they moved.
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't stay, because if they stayed pretty tight where they always were, we would have found them by now. That would have been it. And so they don't grow. They don't seem like they grow roots anyway in just one spot. And for them to live in a wide area, it just makes sense because, if you're talking maybe 5 or so in a 200-mile area, you can't just walk in the woods and just see it by accident.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the reason we haven't found any body, or when they pass or something, you think they bury their dead?
Well, there's quite a few Native American stories that say they do. That's one thing. And they, like in the Pacific Northwest, there's some stories that they find like a lot of well, in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of volcanoes. So you get a lot of these, what we call them scree fields. It's like boulders that fall off the mountain, and so down to the base of the mountain, you get these just piles of rocks. And they said they stacked the rocks up on their dead. It's one of the Native American stories. So if they're any intelligent at all, I think they do probably bury their dead. But even if they don't, a lot of people don't realize that people don't find dead bears in the woods that died naturally.
Right.
You find them if they got shot, but you don't find your naturally dead bears either. Mainly because of most of the place you find Bigfoot and brown bears are in the forest. You get an inch of forest loam every year, falling off the trees. There was a TV show I was on where they took a dead deer and strapped it down to the ground and put a time-lapse camera on it. 9 days, there was nothing left.
Yep.
But a little bit of fur on the ground.
Yep.
Yep. So if there's 3 of them in 20 square miles, what's the chance of walking across a dead one within 9 days of its death?
Especially since they keep to where people don't go.
Yeah, in 20 square miles. So you got a better chance of winning the lottery than finding a dead one. That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Now, I've heard, if I'm not mistaken, there's some counties in Washington that have made it illegal to shoot one.
Yep.
Well, the whole state of Washington's now made it illegal.
Have they?
Yeah. And I think there's what's the other one? Minnesota. There's another state that made it illegal too. Yeah, there was the famous one in Squamish County
in Washington.
They made it illegal to shoot
them. That's interesting. Where they can make something illegal that they haven't said actually even exists.
Exactly.
Let's not talk about any of that stuff. Let's not talk about the efficiency and moral compass of government.
All right.
Let's not do that.
So this is for you. This is a map of all the Bigfoot sightings in East Texas.
Oh wow! Holy smokes! That's interesting.
It goes from right up the Louisiana-Texas line into Arkansas. That's all the forest area in Texas.
Holy smokes. Yeah, that's a good one right there.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Place is lousy with Bigfoot, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, those 3 Bigfoot must get around.
Yeah.
That's what's funny.
Yeah.
What do you think that a healthy population of these probably are? And do you think that they stay in their area, meaning if they're in Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, those stay here, they never migrate west and go to North Dakota or something?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I don't think they travel that far. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They
I think they stay within a couple 100 miles.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, they're adapted to their environment.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at different reports from different parts of the country, you get different color variations depending on where in the country they come from. So like up in the Pacific Northwest, they're black, they're gray, and you've seen the Pacific Northwest. The forests look
Yes.
different. Sorry, there's like a bug going, hello. The forests look different. They're darker. They're
Yeah.
they're loamier. They're more black, dark brown, the gray coloring, you know.
Yeah.
Sun does not cut through them easily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you've got the Bigfoot reports there, and the colors are the same. And you come down here and you get more of the light brown, the red colored, you know, and sometimes even blonde.
Mhm.
You get reports of blondish, you know, because that's the color of the forest. You know, you've got your more vibrant yellow greens and the lighter color, the more sunshiny colors.
Yeah.
So you know, if you had a Florida Bigfoot up in the Pacific Northwest, they couldn't stay hidden.
Right.
You know, so you know they stay in their lane.
Right.
So I sent you that link to that video
Oh,
to
great.
Scott's Facebook Messenger.
Oh, yay.
Cool.
He's like, I got to see this.
Yeah.
You're gonna look
Um,
at it now.
Why
Oh,
not?
yeah,
You
he's
can
going
talk.
to. He can't wait. He's got to do everything right now. And if he can't do it right now, he gets very, very testy.
Yeah, it's kind of shaky, but it's a pretty good
It
video.
was filmed on the guy's cell phone.
Yeah, cell phone.
He saw it going through the field.
Now he has to update.
I have to run an update on my TikTok app.
Ah,
That's how often I go to TikTok, which is
that's all right. I have people send me TikTok stuff all the time. Then it says, "Hey, you have to download an app," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I won't watch it then."
yeah.
Need it. I wait for Jason to come over, and then he'll show it to me.
Yeah.
So have you seen the new picture? It's floating around out. It's a trail cam pic from Georgia. Yeah,
Can you show it?
I don't know if I can show it, but
Can I email it to us?
Yeah.
Let me email it.
okay.
Let's see here. I'll take it because I downloaded it.
A
on
lot
my
of
phone.
different sites have been. I don't know if I don't know if it's real or not, but it looks.
I call no way Jose, but I don't know. Let's see here.
Anyway, I think it was in Georgia somewhere.
Compose some mail. Yep, that's it. And it's sent. There you go.
All right.
Let's see if we'll bring it up and let you look at it. But I
We're
I
fighting
don't
with
know.
the TikTok app right now, so we might have to put that video on hold and watch it in our browser. You could probably watch it in the
Yeah.
computer browser.
Yeah.
You know how old we are. Can't get the damn app to work.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm not much of a TikToker. So yep, there it is. It even had where it said open.
Did it?
Yeah,
Hold on a minute, let me-
right there, open. There you go. Wow. So here we go.
All right.
That's it. Huh?
That's
Yeah.
it.
Have to-
Well, that's not the video that we sent you. This is the trail
know.
cam footage.
I'm
Oh.
thinking no.
I'm thinking no also
It
because
looks too dirty.
Just,
Well, it's not just that; it's the shape of it. You know, if I go back and there's a lot of Native American carvings of masks that have a certain morphology to it, and then you look at some of the photos and you take the Patterson film and I actually it's been like 6 years ago. I had my own sighting where I saw two of them.
You can see that picture on the cover of our book, by the way.
Yeah, the picture's on the cover of the book. But I took that picture myself with a camera in my hand.
oh, wow.
There's a juvenile and an adult looking at me through the trees.
I see it.
I do. Yeah.
See how flat that face is?
See how flat the faces are?
Yeah.
And that one you just showed me has like
it has more of a gorilla face.
More of a gorilla face where it's sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
And that just doesn't match the story. I mean, the typical stuff. Yeah.
So, you got something, David?
I've always got something. I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to close all that stuff I was just doing out of my phone. When it comes to Bigfoot and everything, do you think since you said that they all stay in their lane, the ones that live around here probably don't go but 200 miles, but do you think that there's a big enough population that when, say, the young male goes to find his own territory or whatever, that there's enough that there's a female from somewhere for him to get with, and so it continuates, the species as far as that goes?
Yep. I think so. I think these 20-mile radiuses overlap each other, and probably on purpose, so they can, perpetuate the species, and they seem to be doing a fine at it, because they're still around. We still get sightings and stuff. Yeah. But what's one of the interesting things that I think about it, and we talked about the story in our book about finding another Cripplefoot. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bosberg Cripplefoot from 1969, 1970.
I've seen the photos of it and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Well, I've got a copy of the cast, of the original cast of it. So you got this foot that's kind of bent, and actually, Dr. Grover Krantz, before he passed away, he actually drew out what the bone structure in that foot would look like, the way it was bent. And he took that and showed it to a podiatrist, didn't tell him it was a Bigfoot. And he said, if this person has this bone structure in their foot, what's wrong with them? And the podiatrist took one look at it and said, that's clubfoot. It's a genetic defect. And he explained why it was, because of the way the bones were laid out. And so that's a diagnosable problem.
Wow.
And then for us, I don't know how many years later, what's the difference between 1970 and 2020, I think it was. Anyway.
That would be 50 years.
50 years. Yeah.
50 years later, we find a Bigfoot
with the same
footprint with the same exact problem. Had the same structures, same little bumps on the side of the foot that would have happened from the calcium buildup of the way it was. To find one that was exactly the same, and I took the two casts and laid them on top of each other, and they freaking match. Just one smaller than the other one, but the same structure is the same. We found it 50 years later, and halfway across, all the way across the United States, basically from Washington to Vermont, and to have the same problem, the same genetic problem. Right. And then when you go back into human evolution in history, when I was in college for anthropology, one of the things we studied was there's a group of people in Africa. They call them the ostrich people, because their feet look like ostrich feet.
Hmm.
And they did a study with them as why is this tribe, everybody have these feet that look like ostriches, 2 toes. And they started doing some genetic tests with them, and they found out that this tribe doesn't breed outside the tribe. So it was years and years and years of inbreeding. The first thing that happened was deformities in the feet. So if Bigfoot's a small population and they're starting to inbreed a little bit, and you're finding these deformities in the feet, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Why we would find the same deformity, 3,000 miles away from each other and 50 years apart.
Right. That's insane. Huh.
So was the 1970s cast smaller than the one you found?
It was bigger.
It was bigger.
Oh, okay.
The 70s cast, I think it was 17 inches. And the one we found is 13.
Hmm.
Which we think is the difference between a male and a female.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, of course it's not the same one, but you're just saying that it's just the same
Defect.
Of, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's caused by inbreeding in small populations. Go figure.
Okay. Right.
No,
So
I do think it's plausible over time, as you have young adolescent males being ejected from their family units over time, eventually you're going to see them spreading further out and crossing the country. But that's going to take generations,
right.
just like people used to do it,
Right.
So,
okay.
and that gives time for like adaptation to where they are in that area. So
That makes sense. And then if they're also breeding with some that are in that area, that would also help with that
yep.
adaptation and everything.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. That makes sense.
They just don't reproduce like rabbits like humans do.
Right. You think that it's 1 or 2 and then that's about it?
Yeah, well, I think at any given time they have like 1 or 2 kids. And what we're guessing from the family ones we found over the years. So if we went 3 years for the one that was 6 inches to get to 14, and the first one we found was 10. We're looking at probably they have a kid every other year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And based on
by that one example,
and based on the torso length that like when you look at Patty, she's got such a long. I mean, she is long,
Yeah.
and that suggests. And then also from the genitalia casts we've been able to look at,
yeah,
it all suggests more than likely a longer gestational period. So the young are born further, more developed
than human babies are.
Yeah.
So they don't have to go and be coddled as long, or
Right.
they're able to move on their own some from birth. Got you.
I mean, because so how big were the baby footprints? That the baby that was learning to walk was 6 inches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, a 6-inch footprint now is a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
A 6-year-old human. And so, and their 6-inch feet are their toddlers. So I imagine that you might even be looking at maybe an 18-month, similar to an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry for those females.
Yeah.
Man, that's a long time.
Yeah. I always say I'm glad to be born a male.
I'm glad you know what that means.
Yes. Oh yes. Do not wish that on any guy. No. We couldn't handle it. So, but no. I guess we're coming up to the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. If you want to tell people where you're going to be and about your book, where you can get it, websites, anything. Just go right ahead and
What is the
that.
website?
Well, we can. I can't put it up.
Oh,
So,
okay,
no.
got you.
Hannah thinks we're on our show, and I got control. I don't. So, no, our website is squatchamerica.com. It's pretty simple.
You could also put it in the comments too.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have all this?
Well,
also?
while he's
yeah,
doing
I'm
that,
clicking to get there. Okay.
Yeah. If you go to squatchamerica.com, the first thing you're going to see is, in addition to the new book, we also have just released a proprietary insect repellent, and all of y'all in the South are going to really benefit from that. And you can order your bottle of Squatch Off all natural insect repellent that we formulated.
Yep.
We
have our own bug spray because nothing ever worked for me, so we invented our own, and it's all natural.
We paired up with an herbalist, and and we came up with something that actually works, and it is worth its weight in gold or whatever monopoly money you happen to be spending today. So, but that's what you'll see when you go to the website. It'll take you right to our store for that, and then you can buy our book in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.
There we go. I just pasted the link in the chat there.
Uh-oh, it didn't paste.
Your comment has failed to post. Oh, that's because I just put a link.
I don't understand what that means.
StreamYard won't let you share links as a guest.
Oh, really?
Go to Amazon and just look up Squatch America.
Yeah.
Post it, Jason. We can do it.
Here.
See if I can do it.
Yeah, squatchamerica.com.
Oh, yep.
Yep. Squatchamerica.com.
Yeah, and at the top of the page is, like she said, is a link to the book and a link to our bug spray.
No, not a link to the book on our website. Not yet. I haven't added it yet.
Oh, okay.
But you can buy the book. You can buy the bug spray directly off our website. The book, you have to go to Amazon.
Yeah. So anyway, if you and let's see. Also, we have a YouTube channel. If you want to follow us on YouTube, it's Squatch America on YouTube.
In fact, in 10 days, we have our 200th live episode.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know how we're celebrating, but it's going to be epic.
Yeah.
Find Bigfoot. That would just make it even more epic.
Yeah, there we go. And then, yeah. And then what is it? May 10th?
May 10th will be in Wisconsin.
We'll be in Wisconsin.
In Appleton. Yeah, at the Cryptids, Anomalies, and Paranormal Conference with Barnaby Jones and his crew.
Yeah, we'll have a booth there, and I'm speaking, and you get to see all these.
We get to go on a ghost hunt while we're there.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Oh, you're going to have fun. Have you ever done one?
Nope.
No? Oh, yeah, you're going to have fun. Yeah. We try to do one, at least one every month, don't we?
Yeah.
We do. We try to at least do one, and if we can, we film it live so that everybody can watch it. So
you better take your camera, man.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing all this stuff. I even bought like a whole bunch of those little balls that light up if they move.
Yes, the little cat balls.
Cat balls, yeah.
Yeah.
I got some of those. I think that might work for Bigfoot in the woods too. I might give that a try.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what a juvenile Bigfoot would do with that?
Yeah, there we go.
Could you imagine them picking it up and throwing it at you? I mean,
yeah.
At least it'd be lighting up. You could see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Take your human garbage out of my forest.
That's it. That's funny. Yeah, we use those in ghost hunting, so you'd have fun doing that one.
Yeah.
Your full spectrum camera and all that would be good too to take with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna bring my thermal camera too. I don't know if that's any good, but
it is. It is.
Okay.
We've caught some pretty crazy anomalies with the thermal. So yeah. Yep. Definitely take the thermal.
Yeah, that's what I got that apparition with it, and it was crazy.
Yeah, it actually walked up to a door through a doorway and then turned around and then walked back.
Wow.
And he caught it with a thermal.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you're gonna
The
have fun.
closest thing to a decent ghost hunt I ever went on was the Winchester.
Yeah, Winchester
House.
Mystery House tour.
Oh,
Yeah, that was it.
me and the wife did they offered 2 tours, or at least they used to. They told us that they're gonna stop offering the second one, but we was out there driving the truck and we stopped in, and there's really no place to park an 18-wheeler, but I found a place. And you wouldn't think that this house would be in the middle of a freaking high rises and stuff in
Yeah.
a city, but there it is, just right there. Poof.
Yeah.
And right behind it, when we went anyway, right behind it was old theater, and they were not even in use anymore. So I pulled in there and parked. Yep, that's where we went. But yeah,
I'm wondering if that's more hype than real. That Winchester house.
Yeah,
And she was just a freaking nutball.
I'll tell you what, but at the same time, she was pretty inventive with all the little gadgets that she invented and stuff there. It was pretty neat for that.
And the way that she did it to trick the ghosts.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
the
like,
stairs
that
went to
is
nowhere.
that is a whole new level of disassociation.
Yes. Well, and what's crazy is that, they tell you because you took the tour, but at one point it was 7 stories, but then that big earthquake happened and it leveled a lot of it. She had them just tear it down to the 3 stories it is today. And that's crazy though. Could you imagine that thing at 7 stories?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's crazy.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for coming on.
We had fun. We're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah.
Sure. Would love to.
Awesome. Y'all have a good night. Y'all need to come down here and come to Squatching with us sometime.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll
So where is down here?
we live in East Tennessee, so
okay.
we're kind of in between Chattanooga and Knoxville, Tennessee.
How many
Okay.
times have we tried to put Tennessee on our itinerary?
I know.
There are some places that always get Wisconsin. It has taken us 5 years to actually finagle Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And Tennessee, we've been shooting for the last 3.
Yeah.
So maybe now that we're in then
Now
actually
we got somebody to go.
that
see.
was
Yes,
before we go. That was one of the biggest deciding factors for Texas. Is where is going to be an easy place for us if we get a call from Tennessee? Because the first time we got invited to Tennessee, we were in Oregon,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
can you pay us for a 4,000-mile trip? Well,
Yeah. She's talking about festivals.
yeah,
invite
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so,
Yeah.
so where can we make the entire country more accessible to us? And Texas was it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Well, where you guys are, y'all aren't, but maybe 11 hours or less away from where we live.
yeah.
Yep. So, yep.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
bring this. We'll bring the Squatch Mobile. It's got
Woo-hoo,
all
that'll
this
be
stuff on
fun.
it. Yeah,
We'll have to go eat at Legends and Lore Pizzeria.
there we go.
You'd love
Just
it.
make sure they got some gluten-free stuff for me, and I'll be all golden.
They do.
They do. They
Awesome.
absolutely do. Yes, they do.
Perfect.
All right. Y'all have a good night. And
too.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Bye.
All right.
That was a great show, everybody.
Yes.
And thanks. I want to thank everybody that showed up. There's quite a few people that's been in and talking and on the live, showing up the whole time. Remember, you can find us at paranormal411.org, Paranormal 411 on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. You can tune in live every Thursday from 7 to 8 and Saturdays from 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. Remember also Saturday nights from 10 to 11 if you're in the metro Atlanta area. You can catch us at WDJY FM. That's 99.1 FM. For listeners outside of Atlanta, you can visit wdjyfm.com, or you click the link on our website. Also, we're on Subspace Radio and all major podcast platforms. We also have a book out, East Tennessee Hauntings and Lore Edition 2, which is available on Amazon or at paranormal411.org. Join us.
All
Have a
right.
good night, and we will see everybody next Thursday.
Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows? What secrets the night hides? What strange phenomena might be happening just beyond your perception? Join us as we journey into the world of the paranormal, exploring everything from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and unexplained occurrences. From haunted houses to all things paranormal, join us in the search for the truth behind the veil. Welcome to Paranormal 411.